Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Let's do it.
Today we're going to tackle the career of a guy who went from like king of rom-coms to something a little more, I don't know, unexpected.
I think unexpected is the perfect word.
Yeah. Buckle up because we're going deep on Hugh Grant.
Right. We're going to try and figure out how he's managed to stay relevant, defy expectations, and maybe even teach us a thing or two about career reinvention along the way.
I love that.
Yeah. This is a fascinating story.
Absolutely.
Especially when you consider the source material we've got here, Hugh Grant's. It's a pretty straightforward title, right?
Yeah.
But when you get into it, we get a glimpse of how he's shifted from those, charming floppy-haired roles to something a bit darker.
Oh, for sure.
And way more unpredictable.
Okay, first we got to acknowledge the Hugh Grant we all fell for.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
4 Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, Bridget Jones's Diary.
Oh, yeah.
He practically defined the romantic comedy genre for a while there.
He did. He really perfected that persona, The slightly awkward but oh so charming leading man.
It's like a formula.
It is. But what's interesting is that even back then, critics were picking up on more than just his, comedic timing.
Right.
There was a depth there, a subtlety that hinted at something more.
Yeah, like even when he was playing those roles, there was, I don't know, a sense that he was capable of more.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when did that shift begin? When did he start to kind of move away from the rom-com king image?
It seems like it was a deliberate choice to avoid being typecast.
Okay, so a conscious decision.
And I think his recent role in the horror thriller Heretic is a prime example.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Hugh Grant.
Uh-huh.
Horror thriller.
This isn't a subtle change. It completely flips his usual persona, taking on this menacing role that really challenges audience expectations.
You got to give me some details here.
Okay, so he plays this character, Mr. Reed, who basically terrorizes a group of Mormon missionaries. The source material even calls it his most chilling performance to date. Apparently, he was incredibly intense on set.
Really?
Constantly pushing boundaries and keeping his co-stars on edge.
That's wild. That's a side of Hugh Grant I never would have pictured.
I know, right?
I mean, he's known for being charming and witty, not for sending chills down your spine.
Exactly. And that unpredictability seems to extend beyond just his acting.
What do you mean?
Well, his co-stars in Heretic, Sophie, Thatcher, and Chloe East, they've talked about how he'd improvise on set.
Oh, interesting.
And how his behavior kind of kept them guessing.
Okay.
It makes you wonder if he's always blurring the lines between acting and reality.
You know, it definitely adds to the intrigue. But speaking of intrigue, we can't ignore the 1995 scandal.
Right.
That could have derailed his whole career.
You mean the arrest?
Yeah.
Yeah, the lewd conduct charges were huge news back then.
Oh, massive.
But, instead of shying away from it, he addressed it head on.
Really?
Often with that signature self-deprecating humor.
Oh, that's interesting. It almost became part of his brand.
Yeah.
He didn't try to sweep it under the rug or pretend it didn't happen.
Right. And whether it was a calculated move or not, it seemed to work.
Wow.
He stayed in the public eye, poked fun at himself, and kind of disarmed a lot of the negativity surrounding the situation.
It makes you wonder if that approach could work for other public figures today.
Right.
Do they own up to their mistakes or do they try to bury them?
Exactly.
But let's move on to something that really sets him apart in today's world.
Okay.
This guy is a self-proclaimed technophobe.
Oh, yeah.
He actually calls smartphones the devil's Tinder Box
I've heard that.
and avoids them whenever possible.
It's true. It really plays into that outsider image, even while being, a major player in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's almost unheard of in an industry obsessed with image and social media.
Totally. It does. It really makes you think, maybe by distancing himself from that constant digital noise, he's able to tap into, I don't know, a different kind of creative energy.
It's interesting.
One that allows him to make bolder, more unexpected choices.
Maybe that's part of the reason he stayed relevant for so long.
Could be.
He's not chasing trends. He's doing his own thing. But let's be honest, it hasn't always been smooth sailing.
Oh, of course not.
I mean, he's had some major box office successes.
Right.
Like Love Actually.
Oh, yeah.
That's a holiday classic.
Absolutely. And you can't forget about Bridget Jones's Diary. Those films, I think, really solidified his commercial viability.
For sure.
Studios knew he could draw in a huge audience.
But then there were those films that didn't quite hit the mark.
Right.
Did you hear about the Morgans? Comes to mind.
True. Not every project is a winner. But what's important is that those less successful films, they actually reveal something interesting about his career strategy, you know?
Yeah.
They show that he's willing to experiment, to take risks, and not just stick to what's safe and familiar.
That's a good point. It shows he's not afraid to fail. But let's not forget that beyond those rom-com roles, he's actually got some serious acting chops.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, don't forget those Golden Globe nominations for About a Boy and Florence Foster Jenkins.
Exactly. It proves that there's real talent beneath that charming exterior. He's capable of delivering, nuanced and powerful performances when given the opportunity.
So what's the takeaway here? He's not just a charming actor or even just a savvy career strategist. He's like a master of reinvention, constantly evolving and defying expectations.
He really is. He's not afraid to shed an old persona and embrace something completely new.
Yeah.
Think about other actors who've struggled to stay relevant after early success,
Oh, total.
There's a lot they could learn from Hugh Grant's approach.
It's inspiring, honestly. And it's not just about actors either, right?
No, not at all.
It's a valuable lesson for anyone in any creative field. How do you stay fresh? How do you keep your audience engaged? And how do you keep pushing yourself creatively?
Yeah. Those are the big questions, aren't they? And the fascinating thing is, even with all we know about him, there's still an air of mystery surrounding his next moves.
Right. He's got upcoming projects, but the details are totally under wraps. What unexpected role will he take on next? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, it really is. Keeps things interesting, right? He's not predictable.
Not at all.
And that's a valuable asset, especially in an industry that often relies on typecasting.
Absolutely. It really is. And he's managed to maintain this aura of surprise,
Totally.
I think it's a testament to his commitment to creative evolution. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
He's not afraid to take risks, even if it means stepping outside his comfort zone or challenging the audience's expectations.
So after diving into all of this with Hugh Grant, what's your big takeaway?
I think for me, it's more than just a career in movies. It's really a lesson in staying relevant.
Okay.
In constantly pushing the boundaries and maybe even questioning the norms a little bit. Think about, his aversion to technology, for example.
Oh, right.
Could there be a link between that and his ability to reinvent himself? To stay somewhat unplugged from the constant noise and pressure of the digital age.
Wow. That's an interesting connection. It makes you wonder if being constantly plugged in actually limits our capacity for change or fresh perspectives.
Maybe, yeah. It's definitely something to ponder. How does our relationship with technology really impact our creativity and our ability to evolve?
That's something I'm going to be thinking about for a while. Well, folks, there you have it. Hugh Grant.
More than just a rom-com charmer.
He's a chameleon, a risk taker. Proof that reinvention is possible at any stage.
And maybe even a reminder that sometimes disconnecting from the noise can lead to the most unexpected and rewarding discoveries.
I love that. Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds open to new possibilities.